Hello, it's time to play my TBR game again. Welcome back. My name's Nicole. Let's get straight to it. I have some fun things to do this time, I guess. Well, really, it's the same TBR game, kind of, sort of. So I'm going to be picking a random letter card to tell me what the title of my book needs to start with, of course. I'm still going to be trying to get a pile of possibilities. That's about 3,000 pages in total. However, I've come up with my own prompter. Like, I actually created it and did some coding with the help of my dad and a whole bunch of other things. However, I'm finding that my computer doesn't necessarily like to film and run the program all at the same time. So we're going to do this quickly. So I've got a little unipig to help me out. That's what we decided to call him. And I've even had some people who watch my channel and were with me during sprints who volunteered some prompts. So those might come up. If you have a prompt you'd like to see me try and pick a book for, mention it in the comment below. And if I don't think it's going to get me a unicorn pick every single time, I'll add it to the game. Anyway, like I said, my computer doesn't like running this. It keeps crashing the whole thing. Let's get to it. The first book I'm going to read needs to start with the letter F. Okay, I have a book that I want to read that starts with the letter F. Let's see if I can get a prompt to match it. The repeat author? Well, there goes that idea. Okay, for a book whose title starts with the letter F, I needed a book that was written by a three-peat author. That means it's an author that I've read from 3 times. And yeah, I don't have any that match both of those, so it's a unicorn pick. And it's going to be, they're all falling out. This one. Okay, a medium length book. Let's see what I get. Oh, I don't know that I call that medium length. Do you see it? Palmares. All right, let me get the book.
Okay. So for starters, I've had to switch to my microphone and I've also had to switch recording programs because the other one is giving me a hard time. So we're going to go ahead and talk about the books, but because I splice these together, if the audio changes, I'm sorry for that, but hopefully the audio sounds good the entire time. And also let me know how you like my sitting over here. It's kind of a random spot, but I feel like the lighting is better. So the first book that I pulled, I got the unicorn pick for, and I got Palmares. And I'm not sure how I feel about this book. When I hauled it, I hadn't really heard a lot about the controversy surrounding this or Gayl Jones, who has since come out with another work. But I own the book, and I feel like I need to figure out whether I'm going to read or unhaul it. So that's what this book is actually going to become on this pile of possibilities. I'm going to do my own research into it and see what was actually the facts and statements that were made. If you have any information about this and particularly sites that you can refer me to, that would be really helpful. You can leave those in the comments below. But like I said, for most intents and purposes, at this point, this book is sort of a read or unhaul after I've done some research. It is a decent sized book. It's 492 pages. For some reason, I feel like it feels like it should be way longer, but it's not.
I also need a book whose title starts with the letter J or Q. Okay. Fantasy. Hmm. Okay. Okay, I don't quite know how to feel about this because for a book whose title starts with the letter J or Q, I needed a fantasy, but it's another unicorn pick instead. So, strange happenings here. I just don't have a lot of books whose titles start with J or Q in general, because otherwise I feel like I should have been able to get a fantasy. Ooh, it's a green paper. Okay, it's making up for the fact that it lied to me about Palmares being a medium length book, and I already saw the book, but let me show you. Perfume.
Yeah, so the game with all the unicorn picks, at least the second book it's given me one is one that I think I will finish. I don't know. That's why this is a pile of possibilities. I'm definitely going to try it. And that's Perfume by Patrick Suskind. And this is a I don't know, psychological thriller. I don't even know what category of book this would fall into. Other than that, I know it is about a man who is obsessed with smell, I believe is what it is. And he sort of goes and indulges himself in that, but as he continues along in life, his obsession begins continues to grow and things just really go downhill is my understanding. I have not watched any reviews on this book because I don't want to know any more than that. I'm really interested to see where this goes along. It does seem like it's as much a character study as well as a lot of interesting things that happen in the plot. A lot of people who review this book tend to be pretty vague, and it's not very long. It's 255 pages long, according to my notebook, which is over there. That's why I keep looking that way. But I am excited to finally give this a try. I don't know. We'll see how excited I am once I start reading it.
Next, I need a book whose title starts with the letter W. Let's hit the unicorn. Tap him. Let's tap him. A paused book. Oh boy.
For the letter W, I needed a book that I had paused, and I wasn't sure that I had one until I went over to my shelves and looked. And if you didn't know, because you're newer to my channel, all the books on my bookshelf are alphabetized by title because that's how I play the game and that's how I remember books first. Anyway, the book I did find is Women Talking, and this is definitely a TBR vet for me. And so I was glad to pick it up because I would like to actually read this. I did, as you can see by the tabs, start it quite a while ago, probably back when I first hauled it. But I put it down, and I remember it was because at the time that I went to read it, I just felt like it was going to be too heavy a read. I think I had already read a couple of heavy reads right before it, and it just seemed like it was just going to be super depressing to keep going on that same vein. Women Talking, if you don't know, is about a group of Mennonite women who are in their community and they all start having very violent and unusual and horrifying dreams. They're being told that they're being, having demonic attacks occur to them. But as the women get together and start to talk about their experience, they start to realize that something else is going on and it's even worse than what they thought. And yeah, this is, I believe, based on a true story. Yeah, based on real events. And the writing style that you pick up on right away is basically minutes that happen from their all-female symposium that they had. So that's the style of the book is you read the minutes, which I thought was a very interesting way of presenting this story and this information. Women Talking is 216 pages, if I haven't said that already, so it's not super long. I feel like I've read a better mix of books back to back recently, and it also, while we're going into fall, still feels like summer where I live, so hopefully just the day weather being nicer will also lead to I don't know, my being more able to handle the content of this book.
I need a book whose title starts with the letter V. Okay. I don't have a lot of V's. I'm a bit nervous. Oh, that's not too bad. Good for coffee breaks. Okay.
For the letter V, I needed a book that I could read on a coffee break. So I was thinking something that was either short stories or a novella or had chapter breaks or in some way was going to be easy to pick up and put down. Now, I don't have a lot of books whose title starts with the letter V, and most of them are on the shorter side. But I ended up going with this collection of Paulo Coelho's works that I have. I've read one other book by him, which is The Alchemist, and I liked his writing, but I thought that particular book felt a little too young, which it is young adult, and it also felt a little cliche, which I think had to do with the genre. So I have wanted to try more works of his. This seemed like a good time to pick this up. It's on my V shelf because the first book in here is The Valkyries. And I thought this would work well. They are three novellas, but one of the things I noticed in looking inside the book is that The Valkyries does have these page breaks that are here and they happen fairly frequently, like after every couple of pages. So it's obviously indicating spots where you could pause, kind of like a chapter break. So I thought this would be really good on a coffee break. And in fact, I think that's how I might try reading this book, not necessarily in a 15-minute coffee break, but when I drink my coffee in the morning. And, I will just read until my coffee is done. And then I will stop at whatever the next little page break is. So that'll be an interesting little experiment. And The Valkyries is 212 pages long, which now that I think about it, I might have said that Women Talking was 212 pages. If I got that wrong, Women Talking is actually 216 pages, and this book is 212 pages. Either way, the page count number you see on the screen will be accurate. Oh, and I didn't mention, I have no idea what The Valkyries is about because that particular book doesn't say what any of those books are about. But like I mentioned earlier, I bought the book because I wanted to read more of his writing, and I had some store credit at the used bookstore I found that at, so it was kind of sort of free.
Next, I need a book whose title starts with the letter S. Okay. I don't know why I looked at it like that. Cook a book. Was bound to happen one day.
For the letter S, I needed to cook a book. And this is a prompt from Herculean round one. But on Herculean round two, you're able to pick your favorite prompt from the first round. If you're not familiar with Herculean, I will include a link in the description box below where you can go and see the announcement video for this wonderful event that is being hosted by Stephanie over at Cordy. Anyway, the prompt and the idea behind it is to take a book that either has a recipe in it, can't be a cookbook, and to find either cook the recipe that's in the book, or if there is a food that is mentioned fairly prominently in some way, you can cook that food if you can find a recipe for it. The book I ended up choosing is Stranger in a Strange Land by Robert A. Heinlein. And let me explain why. This is a work of science fiction that is about a man whose name is Valentine Michael Smith, who is a stranger to our world. And he comes here and he experiences what life in our world is like for the first time. And it is very unusual to him. And this book is supposed to be really well known for just giving a sort of objective view on what we as people on Earth have come to see as normal. And I always find that when you're a stranger in a strange land, that one of the things you experience as being very strange, if you will, is the food that people eat. While there are similarities between foods around the world, there are often flavor changes and local food and that kind of thing that is different than what you're used to. So I figured there will be a decent amount of discussion of food in this book, and it will be a food that will be pretty common to me. Maybe that's the hope that I will be able to try cooking some of it. In other words, I'm really hoping he eats a cheeseburger and thinks it's weird because I know how to cook a cheeseburger. Is this cheating a little bit? Maybe, maybe not. I've never read the book. We'll find out together. This book is 513 pages long. I've really been enjoying science fiction recently, and the other book I read by Robert Heinlein was A Door into Summer, and I really enjoyed a lot of aspects of that book. So I'm looking forward to reading another work by him.
Next, I need a book whose title starts with the letter A. Ooh, I have an A I'd like to read, so hopefully it works out. A family saga. Well,
For the letter A, I needed to read a family saga. And I had a book in mind when I picked the letter A, and I wasn't sure if the prompt was going to fit. This may be a little bit of a stretch, but I don't feel like it really is. The book I'm choosing is Adulthood Rites. This is by Octavia E. Butler. It is the second book in the Lilith's Brood series, which is also known as the Xenogenesis series. And I am really excited to get this on my TBR. I feel like even the Lilith's Brood indicates that like you're kind of like following Lilith's Brood. I don't know that that's actually true, but it seems like that's the direction the book is going to go into, and that sounds like a family saga to me. And why not have a family saga that's also science fiction? It may be a stretch of the term, but I'm going with it. What is Adulthood Rights about? I don't know because it's the second book in the series. So I'm also going to assume that you don't want to know. But I will tell you about book one, which is called Dawn. And that is about a young girl or woman named Lilith who is finding herself having multiple awakenings. And these awakenings are experiences where she keeps waking up and going to sleep in an unfamiliar, rather blank and sterile room. She doesn't know if she's in a hospital. She doesn't know if she is a captive or if she is being taken care of or exactly what is going on. She does have some memories before these awakenings started happening, sort of a apocalyptic situation going on, but she has no memory of what has happened since then other than the two previous awakenings she's had. On the third awakening, things start moving forward and she starts looking for and getting answers to some of her questions. And Adulthood Rites, I believe, picks up not super long after the end of Dawn. I'm not quite sure. I have really enjoyed everything that I've read by Octavia E. Butler. I really enjoyed Dawn. It was very unexpected in a lot of ways, though very familiar to me, having read a couple of other works by Octavia E. Butler. And I'm really looking forward to continuing this series before I forget what book one is about. So I was happy to squeeze this onto the TBR, shall we say. Adulthood Rights is 302 pages long, and I'm putting a lot of science fiction on my TBR, but I don't know. I'm looking forward to it.
I also need a book whose title starts with the letter ooh, A through Z. Okay. Okay. I can get a really tricky prompt because I've got flexibility here. So let's see what happens. Oh. Okay, I asked for a tricky prompt. A blurb is by an author I've read before. Oh, this is going to be tricky in a whole different way.
I got the letter A to Z, which meant that I got to choose what book I wanted to pick in terms of the title. And the prompt was that the book had to be blurbed by another author that I've already read from before. This was actually harder than I thought it was going to be, partially just because a lot of the blurbs on my books are actually by newspapers. So maybe I need to include that on there? I don't know. That seems like a really weird prompt. Anyway, I did end up finding one, and the way I searched for it was I just ended up looking at my shelves and saying, "Well, what do I really wanna read, and what have I been wanting to read for a long time?" And looking at all of those books until I finally found one that was blurbed by an author, and then by an author that I've read. And the book that I ended up getting is The Goldfinch by Donna Tartt. I have not read anything by Donna Tartt before, right? I don't think I have. So I'm pretty sure this will be my first Donna Tartt. I'm looking forward to it. This was blurbed by Stephen King, if you're wondering, which is kind of funny because I've actually DNF'd everything I've read by him, which does have me a little bit worried about what that means because he obviously likes Donna Tartt. And I don't know. I'm not gonna think about it beyond there. And of her 2 books, I have, or of her works, I have The Goldfinch, and I also have The Secret History, but of the 2, this is the one that I've been looking forward to reading more. I know that this isn't necessarily everybody's favorite book of hers. Some people find it too slow and kind of boring. I've read the opening chapter of this book before and really enjoyed it. And I think the premise of the book is something that I'm going to enjoy. It follows Theo Decker, who is a 13-year-old New Yorker who survives a horrible, I guess, terrorist act. I'm not really sure what the event is. And he finds himself suddenly in a precarious situation where he is orphaned, I believe, and also thief because I believe he's at an art museum when this occurs, and he ends up stealing, I believe, a painting of a goldfish, a painting of a goldfinch. And the book goes on from there, and I believe is in a lot of ways it sounds like a coming of age story. I do know that some people don't like the protagonist, so we'll see how that goes. But I did, like I say, like the opening chapter, so I'm hoping that's promising that I will enjoy this whole book. It is a chunkier book compared to some of the other ones that I've been adding on to my TBR this month. It's coming in at around 771 pages, and I will stop flicking it around because I know that gold on the front is doing things with the lighting, so sorry about that. So yeah, I'm looking forward to trying my first Donna Tartt. I hope it lives up to the hype I have in my own mind, if not the hype that there is online. Yeah.
And I need a book whose title starts with the letter I. Okay, let's see what I get for this. Has my favorite dedication? Okay.
And my last book needed to start with the letter I. Did I give things away by telling you it's the last book? I know it's the last book, and now you do too. And this needed to be a book who had my favorite dedication of all the books that I have who start with the letter I. Well, in all truth, all the dedications that I had for that letter were all pretty boring. They were not boring. I'm sure they were meaningful, but they were meaningful probably only to the author and the people they dedicated it to. Basically, what I'm saying is that all the books that I have whose titles start with the letter I had dedications that were just to a particular person's name. I ended up deciding to do with that was since I felt kind of the same about all of them, so long as the book had a dedication, I just decided I could choose whichever one I wanted. And I ended up going with an instance of the Fingerpost. This is a book that is a murder mystery, I believe, where you're trying to figure out who killed an individual. And it's got such an interesting premise and format and structure to the book. My understanding is that the way this book is structured is that there are four different people who are serving as witnesses. I believe the reader is put into the place of a detective, or at least the person who's hearing these witnesses describe their experience. And what fascinates me about this book is that you get to hear about the same exact situation from four different points of view and four different people with four different personalities. And apparently, the four different ideas don't all line up. And so I'm very curious about that. This really reminds me of Wilkie Collins' The Woman in White, where you have, in that case, a heist that has happened. And that story is told by a person after the fact, collecting letters and information from various people who were involved and around during the heist. That's a locked door mystery. I'm not sure if this one is, but I feel like there's similarities just in how the two books are structured. So I'm very curious and excited to get into this. I've heard really good things about this book. And so I thought it would just be something in a very different genre from everything else I got, as well as a very different genre than what I tend to read from in general. And yeah, it's also historical fiction, if I didn't mention that. So I guess that's not that unfamiliar, but like the whole, I don't tend to read a lot of mysteries. That's basically what I'm getting at. This book is 725 pages, which is why it's the last book that I'm picking up. I probably could have and maybe should have gone with a shorter one, but of all the books I had with this was the one that I was kind of like, yeah, I think this is the one I most feel like reading right now. I want to read all of them, but times a change and that kind of deal. It is a mass market paperback, so I do also feel like while it's coming in at 725 pages, if it was a regular trade paperback size, it would be fewer pages than that. So that'll possibly help in the reading. And I also don't mind getting something longer on my TBR, especially right now because I feel like, unlike some of the other books, this will probably read relatively quickly because it's certainly in a lot of ways a bit more plot driven, even though I'm sure we're going to get a lot of characterization from the four different points of view. So we'll see how it goes. So that's it. That brings me to the total number of pages that I need. I'm definitely well over 3,000 at this point. Let me get all the books together and show you everything that's on my pile of possibilities. So here they all are. I am really excited about all of these books. I will put up the total number of pages on the screen so you can see how many pages I would need to read if I was going to read all of these books. And I'll even put up there how many days I think it'll take me to read. And you can guess below as well. I have no idea. Let's just be honest. But yeah, I am excited. Like I said, this is a pile of possibilities. They are books that I am going to possibly get to. Well, they're books that I plan on reading. There's not a particular month that I plan on getting to all of these, but I won't play my TBR game again until I have either read these, decided I don't want to read them now and reshelved them, or have actually unhauled them. And I feel like there's books in here that might fall into all of those categories. If you would like to know what I'm reading in the month of October, make sure to catch my monthly wrap up video because that's where I'm going to be talking about the books that I have to read in whatever the following month is. But yeah, I'm excited at all of these choices. Again, I apologize if there's like volume changes. I'm going to do my editing best to even those out, but it's something that really just can't be avoided because I don't know, the program's just not working correctly. Anyway, I hope it's all worked out. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know what you plan on reading next. I'm not sure which of these I'm going to pick up first, but I'm really liking this stack. I think it's an interesting mix of different books and lengths, so it should be fun to work through. So that's it for today, and I'll talk to you next time. Bye.